that's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
And really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and D-gentlemen of all ages. Welcome back to another book club here at the Degen Roundtable, and happy Friday. It is episode 76, and tonight we are covering In Defense of Public Debt. Yes, we are currently still on the villain arc, if you will, or the devil's advocate arc. This book we specifically picked out because we imagined it might disagree with some of our sensibilities and arguments that we commonly make here. So, in order to better understand how to argue against them, we are diving into exactly that. So, as you can imagine by the title of the book, this book is talking about government spending and running large deficits from the government. But we'll get into that. It was an interesting read. I think I may have tortured Will a little more than usual this week, so apologies to my man over there.
Oh, I've got a comeback plan, and you're probably not gonna like it. For when we're done with this villain arc, bro. I'm gonna crank it up to the whole other level. So I hope you're ready for it.
Oh, I am. By the way, this is my excellent co-host, Mr. Will Stevenson. He climbs towers, hangs out with good people, and just talks to all you good folks online. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. I was worried that I didn't have the chat shoutouts paper, and so like as the intro was ending, I'm like, fuck, I gotta find it. I'm like running around all over our little transmitter building room over here trying to find it, and it turns out it was just chilling inside of my bin exactly where I had left it. So we're all good, everybody. We can still do chat shoutouts just fine. But I'm doing great. I drove 12 hours to Indiana to knock over a tower for a half day and then chop it up, and then drove straight fucking back, and it was just like it was fucking ridiculous. So our mileage pay for that job is gonna be fucking phenomenal. Lots of T-shares stacking. I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. Me and Levi, my coworker, went on an adventure just right before the show started, and we were wandering about in the woods. I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta get back to the transmitter building so I can get by my computer, and we do this fucking stream and get after it and stuff. So that's how I'm doing. How are you, bro? Nobody ever asks the host how they're doing. The host always asks other people. So
you ask me.
How are you, Zenith?
I am doing well. I actually have a fun little tidbit to share here with you. So I was doing a little bit of a routine shopping, if you will, of the tactical kind. Recently, I saw Palmetto State Armory had a really good deal. So I picked up a Burris Fastfire 3 micro red dot for pistol.
Ooh, that's nice.
And God, I think I got it for like $120. It was killer.
Good deal.
And I also got a bunch of these that were on clearance. So
those AK
might as well.
Those are AR mags.
Yeah, good old YouTube compliant 29 rounders. Not with any ammunition in them, nor am I touching a live firearm. YouTube reviewer, thank you very much.
You said YouTube compliant?
It's a running joke, which is that YouTube compliance is that they don't want to have 30 round magazines. So that the joke is that everyone has 29 round magazines.
Oh, I'm not aware of this. This is quite amusing. I'll have to pay attention next time Boogie talks about this sort of thing.
It's either that, or if you're a big fan of Brandon Herrera, the AK guy, he talks about it, and then he also makes like the joke on the joke whenever he covers like a battle rifle or something. Like he has videos with his SCAR, and he's like, "Guess what? Today we're actually compliant because this thing only holds 20."
Oh yeah.
Yes, but the real piece of haul I wanted to show off was: do you know the company T-Rex Arms?
I do not know the company, but I like the name of it.
Yeah, they are an American company that does a lot of like firearms and preparedness stuff for civilians. They want to help educate and arm the populace. And they recently released a bunch of books. So I picked them up. We have The Path of Liberty, which is kind of created by one of their main guys, Isaac Botkin. We have Radio Operators and Antenna Handbooks.
Ooh.
the Marine Rifle Squad Handbook. I believe this is an actual Marine Corps publication, and Scouting and Patrolling by the Marine Corps as well. But the coolest thing was that I ordered. So Isaac Botkin does like a 30-minute YouTube video where he like does a crash course and like here's like how to actually start operating a radio. Like here's all the different frequencies. Here's like your equipment, that kind of stuff. So really like that he helped publish this book, and then this one is kind of covering a bunch of foundational documents of the United States and stuff. It's a lot of original documents, but he also is like the editor and slight author of it. And then when I made my order, I asked them to see if Isaac could sign the books for me. Unfortunately, he did not, but I got a mysterious email and they were like, your next order from T-Rex Arms is shipped. And I was like, I don't remember buying anything. But then I got this bad boy in the mail, a nice little tumbler. It's pretty sweet.
That's
and
awesome.
I also got this, a little card. It says, Dear Zenith, sorry I was out of the office when you asked for a book signature, but I wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you buying and reading both of those. I hope they are helpful and encouraging. Isaac Botkin. What a stud.
That's fucking awesome.
Shout out to the T-Rex Arms guys. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And this is this little freebie you threw in was super, super cool. So thank you very much. You guys rock.
While we're shouting out cool stores that do online military-esque type stuff, I want to also shout out Commando Store. Have you ever are you familiar at all with Commando Store, Zenith? Yeah, so
you guys are great.
Yeah, so I've been ordering from Commando Store for a very, very long time. These are the these are the guys
IKEA
over here.
Rig. Yeah.
Yep, Commando Store. Ivan is watching you, just so you know. Like the idea, like made like IKEA. These guys are freaking great. Like they make Zibby beans. These guys started off as a meme on 4chan, and they made a whole fucking store about it. Like because so many dudes on 4chan's K were so into like surplus and anime and stickers and Velcro and stuff. Like they just made an entire online store about 4chan memes and things. So I always fucking love these dudes. And whenever you order, or at least like when I would order stuff from these guys back in the day when I was still in the Marine Corps, like fucking note taking gear and all sorts of cool camouflage stuff. When I would order things from them, they would ship the boxes to me, and the boxes would come with like crayon writing all over the outside, being like, Marine Corps, you better save this box. It's fucking ridiculous. So I love the dudes over at Commando Store. They're always gonna hold like a special place in my heart. These guys are freaking awesome. They sell MREs. They sell, like Russian Adidas or Russian Machba sneakers.
I've been looking at those watches.
Yeah.
So it's like the Russian version of Casio's.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's kind of banging. I'm not gonna lie.
55 Bravos. Yeah, I mean it's a cool little watch over here. So it's like if you want one of those 24-hour clock watches that just has a whole bunch of Cyrillic writing on it, then go to commandostore.com and go pick it up. Like they're not paying us, right? We're way too small to be paid or to be cool or awesome or anything like that. But while we're shouting out cool online stores that send handwritten notes to their customers, like Commando Store and T-Rex Arms, some freaking fantastic, awesome guys. So, speaking of awesome guys, broski, we've got some awesome folks in the chat here. You think it's time for chat motherfucking shoutouts, Mr. Zenith?
That it is.
I think it's time. Chat motherfucking shoutouts, baby. I did not star any of them, so go ahead and roll on through them when you're ready, bro.
I love it. Alrighty, up first, coming in here, first DGen of the night, Slide 180, aka our buddy Josh. Well, your buddy. I've only hung out with him on stream once, but he's
your friend too.
He's
allowed to be your friend. I give you permission.
I dig it. All right, he says, "Cheers, happy Halloween." Yes, there you go, sir. Will and I are dressed up as the scariest Halloween costume, which is normies, because we didn't dress up. So there you go.
Yep. I'm dressed as myself. I am drinking some grog tonight. I have Jaeger that I've watered down, and it's actually really fucking good. I quite like watered down Jaeger. I think that's going to be my new like drink of choice. I poured like a half a bottle of Jaeger into this entire gallon jug of water, and man, is it like it's good because it's like slightly flavored water and it's a little bit alcoholic, and so I'm getting like hydrated and enjoying a delicious drink all at the same time. So I've just been like sipping on this thing all fucking day, and it's great and awesome. So what are you drinking over there, Mr. Zenith?
Lately I've just been on that crisp Wowda kick. So I got that. Finishing up today's monster, and we have my favorite LaCroix, the key lime flavor. It's the best.
Bro, you got to get on that Mineragua life. That Mineragua sparkling water from Doritos. It's pretty good.
All right. I'll consider it. We'll take a look.
Cheaper than LaCroix, anyways. Go ahead.
Up next, good buddy of ours, Mr. Fast Abdul, Pulse Jitsu with Fast Abdul, if you will, says, I am here for the tech. And he says, in Canada, our scars are bolt action. RIP, homie. That is an expensive platform to make bolt action, but shout out to you guys. Up next, we got Broats, aka Brother Oates. He has arrived.
Yes.
Glad to have you, sir. We also have someone
yeah.
else arriving, a VIP, if you will. Tam Tam, she says, hello, my lovelies. Great to see you as always. Thanks for showing up. Really appreciate the support as well. And go check her out on Twitter. She or X, if you will. She is running the Tuesday Pulse Chain Universities. So give them a watch. They're good stuff. And if you have any questions.
For this coming Tuesday, we're going to be talking about T-shares. That is the subject of discussion. So if you guys were in the DGen Roundtable chats and you've seen me and Dace talk about T-shares all day yesterday, then you're going to get more of that if you go and hop into Tam Tam's X Space that she is running this Tuesday. So it goes every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time. So go check it out.
Love it. Excellent. Thanks for running that, Tam Tam, by the way. It's fantastic. We got another good buddy of ours, Mr. Moonpilled Rational Optics, says, what's up, gentlemen? Hanging out on a Friday night, sir. Hope you and the missus over there are having a great time as well. Mr. Hexkin Lost in Asia coming in with the 07. Shout out to you, sir.
Fuck yeah.
And then we got Mixed Mix, a.k.a. Jasole. He says, tried to like the video, but my magic conch said no for the sake of political pressure. Okay.
Thank God. Thank God. Somebody's got to keep us honest out there. Hit that. For Mixed aka Jazole, I need you to hit that dislike button. We need at least one dislike per video. And I think that you're the man to do it. I could be wrong, but somebody's got to. So it might as well be you. Thanks, broski. We fucking love you.
Yeah. It's funny to see you, like, if we've done a meme or something and we ask people like hit the dislike or something. If I go back into the YouTube studio menu, like the creator suite, like it'll give me an alert. It was like, hey, something you did went horribly wrong. And I'm like, thank you for that.
That's
like,
awesome.
It'll also straight up tell you if it has another warning where it's like more than like 90% of the people like clicked on this video and then clicked off in the first like 10 seconds or something. And it's like, this is a warning. You have officially made clickbait. Congratulations. Don't do it again.
Really?
Yeah, it'll tell you.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, to round it out, though, we got two more. We got Miss Tam Tam. Thank you, gentlemen. Of course, always a pleasure. And then we got Moonpills. Says, surprise! We got another book recommendation in the works. All right, well, we're here for it. We're always here for the book recommendations.
I'm gonna call you out, Mr. Moonpilled Rational Optics. I see nothing in the DGen Roundtable Book Club recommendations or book suggestions. So until you put it in there, you actually do not have a recommendation. So that's my call to action for you, sir. Coming in here with words and no actions in the Telegram. Nice try, amigo. You can't catch me. Can't catch me sleeping. It's fucking good though. Moonpilled Rational Optics has been like he is definitely, if me and Zenith are the book club people, like the number one and the number two, Zenith being number one, I'm the number two, then fucking Moonpilled Rational Optics is definitely the number three off screen. He's got so many fucking fantastic book recommendations. It's freaking crazy.
Oh,
ooh, we got one more. Zenith just rolled in.
Just live. He said, tired boss. Sometimes I just pop in, hit the like and dip. Hey, either way, we appreciate you.
Boss.
You're a
hey,
stud.
Bro. Fucking anything is better than nothing. And even you writing this comment out is fucking fantastic. So it's good to see you. And also, Battle Hardened Sniper. I know you're out there. I know you're fucking sneak watching, ninja watching, as you always do. Cheers to you, Mr. Battle Hardened Sniper. We fucking love you too, broski. So to all our ninja watches out there.
Yeah, we appreciate all you guys. It's a blast, especially if you guys show up and watch the book club ones. Like, I know the crypto stuff is a little more like fun and loosey goosey and a little spicy too, but then the book club is just like, all right, Will and Z, you ramble for 2 hours about a book they read. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Honestly, I think that the book club is the best part of DGen Roundtable. Like, the news stuff is actually no, the friendship stuff is too. Whiskey Wednesday and book club are pretty tied to, like, as far as the crypto news goes, like, Come on, guys. What happens every week changes every week. So, but like book club, most of book club knowledge and information is pretty timeless. Which I think is really important because we mix up timeless information with current time information that we also hang out with people. So we got all the bases covered, I think. But I personally like book club more than I like the Sunday shows, and I do like the Whiskey Wednesdays and all the funs and things.
I dig it. They're fun. Tell you what, though, let's get. I didn't know you guys were planning on dressing up like the ambiguously gay duo for Halloween. Boom, roasted.
Thank you, Mr. Just Live. Ambiguously gay duo. We do look like an ambiguously gay couple here, I suppose. I'm wearing a t-shirt that says "bad idea" and an undershirt made of wool and a headset. And Zenith is wearing a beige shirt of some kind. So yeah, that's definitely what gay people look like. If ever you see this combo in public, that's your immediate indicator that that's a gay duo. That's a gay couple right there.
There you go. Welcome to Pulse Chain.
Welcome to Pulse Chain, where we do book clubs and there's all sorts of silliness going on. But Zenith, this book has a summarization, doesn't it? The folks at home probably want to know what this book is about. Would you be so kind as to tell the people what to expect if they didn't want to read this book but they wanted to know it?
Yes, but first, I do want to give you a quick summary of who the man is that wrote this book, because he's actually also on my short list of other books. Which, by the way, if you've been following the titles and the book, what the book was supposed to be, it was supposed to be Exorbitant Privilege: The Rise and Fall of the U.S. Dollar, which is a fiat USD book, but that one was not on Audible. Thankfully, this one was, so we made a switch up on Wednesday there. So Thankfully, we got that in. But yes, Barry Eichengreen. He is an American economist and economic historian who is the George C. Pardee and Helen N. Pardee Professor of Economics and Political Science at University of California, Berkeley, who has taught since 1987. Eichengreen is a research associate from the National Bureau of Economic Research and a research fellow at the Center for Economic Policy Research. That was a lot of research there, and a lot of economics too. Either way, the man has released a handful of books. I'm looking at least 24 different titles here, and guess what they're all about? Economics, baby. That's what the guy writes about, so that's fair. In Defense of Public Debt is actually his newest book. It came out in 2021, and where's the other one? Exorbitant Privilege, the one I wanted to read, came out in 2010. So that should give you an indication of kind of the time frames that he writes around. There may or may not be two major events that happened right before he released books. If it was 2010 and 2021, can you guess what they are?
Well, I mean, one's probably about the financial crisis of 2008, and then the other one's probably about the fucking financial crisis of COVID.
Hey, there we go. 2 for 2. Well done. Well done.
Wow, what a thought.
Yeah. But that is his resume. Let's look at what this book is. So, the overall thesis for the book is here. Quote, public debt has been historically a constructive and even indispensable instrument of state development, economic resilience, and social progress, not merely a source of fiscal peril. The book is broken down into 14 chapters, including an introduction and conclusion, but here's pretty much what the summary of the book is in one sentence for each of them. First one, we set up the contrarian premise: debt deserves defense because it built the modern fiscal state. Number 2, our first real chapter, is debt in service of the state. This is where the author argues that debt financed public goods and wars that would otherwise be impossible. Number 3 is states and their limits of borrowing. He acknowledges that excessive or poorly structured debt can lead to failures. Number 4, we have globalization and democratization. He claims that broader electorates and open markets stabilize debt, and open markets stabilize the debt markets. Number 5, we have caveat emptor. This is where he blames lenders as much of borrowers for crises. So, throwing shade at both of them on that one.
Caveat emptor, by the way, means buyer beware in Latin, right? That's what that's about.
I believe, yes, sir. Numbers 6 and 7 are managing and then consolidating debt. So he shows how nations recover through restructuring and growth. And then number 8 is warfare to welfare. This is where he frames that welfare spending is the new justifiable use of debt, because previously it was a lot of war. This book goes into a lot of historical examples, pretty much going back like 500 years, and really just like lays out the different track records of like this was going on. So they did this and they used this debt to do this thing, and then ultimately kind of failed for these reasons, or it was sustainable for a bit, but then they kind of went other ways and they kind of got conquered, so it didn't matter anyways, that kind of stuff. Number 9, we have the cycles of debt. This is where it normalizes the boom bust borrowing as part of the economic rhythm. So for anyone out there that has watched the episode where we covered Keynesian economics, well, this is kind of talking about that. The Keynesian cycle, or the business cycle, is that there are boom and bust times. And what Keynesian economics says is that during bust times, you should increase government economic spending because it can utilize public debt or governmental debt as a way to kind of spend money that you don't have in a way to reinvigorate the system. But then the other half of Keynesian economics that everyone just conveniently leaves out is where he says that in boom times, you have to reduce government spending. Otherwise, you're going to just create an inflationary cycle, and then you're ultimately going to make the next bust even worse. So dirty little secret on that one. Number 10, we have oil and water. Note that these resources, rents, distort fiscal discipline. There may or may not have been 2 gentlemen that have talked about this idea previously. That would be Thomas Sowell and Adam Smith, where they talked about renters, effectively, of land, resources, whatever. Similar stuff there. Missed opportunities. This is where he talks about, where he admits that failures of misused debt have happened, and it went pretty poorly for those guys that did. Number 12, we have debt to the rescue. This is where he actually celebrates cries where borrowing saved the economies. This is where he starts getting into the 2008 financial crisis and COVID-19. And then he has a whole chapter on COVID-19 to close out the book before the conclusion. He says this is an example of debt as a social stabilizer. And then finally, what I was talking with Will backstage in the green room, which is that if you had to read this book or any part of this book, just go read the conclusion. It's like a 30-minute chapter, and the guy pretty much resummarizes everything, but like just the important stuff, and also gets some statistics in there, and then reiterates the thesis, which, as Will told me, is what every good conclusion should be. So, hey, overall, it's a pretty good conclusion there. And the summary is public debt is here to stay. So why not manage it wisely instead of fear it? I saw that eye roll. Oh my gosh. Pain over there.
I engage in debt from time to time, and
I try not to.
I use it as a tool. Now, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the moral thing? Am I doing the thing that maximizes my power? You know, all of these are questions that you guys have to ask yourself. And I'm sorry, I interrupted you in the middle of your
No, I was
towards
done.
the end of your. So here's the thing.
Next question was to ask Mr. Will Stevenson, what were your overall thoughts on the book?
My overall thoughts on the book are this guy describes a tool that is a valid tool that people can use. Now, here's where my problem with this whole idea, this whole book basically stems from. And it's not a new problem. It's not a new thought that I've had. It's something I've expressed many, many times. But I think that the government is, or that the sovereign, or the people in charge, right? These powerful folks, they don't care about your problems. They care about the thing that gets them more power, right? And they're probably going to do the thing that gets them more power, irrespective of what it does for the little people like you and me. So the problem that I have with the government having power is that they almost inevitably use it to further their goals and their things, which oftentimes do not align with my values and things that I find important, et cetera, et cetera. And any sort of tool that empowers the government gives them more capability to fuck over me, fuck over people that I care about, fuck over people that are close to me or that are aligned with me or something like that. Occasionally, every now and again, the government will do something nice for me. But for the most part, I see it as an abusive boyfriend that beats up the girlfriend. And then, like, you know, the girlfriend just keeps crawling back because it's like, there's this one nice little thing that happens every now and again. But for the most part, it's just a horrible, horrible experience. So I see anything that empowers the government as being bad and anything that disempowers the government as being good, because I don't want to suffer. And I know that the government, most of its actions cause suffering for me, or I just simply like run away, or I go do something else, or I do my own little, like fuck you government, or whatever, right? So my whole problem with the book is that the premise is like, let's just empower the government and make sure that they're really good people, and make sure that they're doing the right thing up there, and that they're not going to do bad thing. Let's give them this stick of lit dynamite and hope that they throw it far enough away that it doesn't hurt anybody, right? Or not that they throw it into the crowd of people that they think are their enemies or whatever the hell. I see this book as like, it describes a tool that is very legitimate, and it's a very good tool when used correctly. But I think that the premise is that the tool is given to people that use the tools incorrectly, or that are incompetent, or that do bad things. So that's my whole argument with the book, is not about the principles of what is debt, or can debt be useful, or is debt a good tool. I think that debt is definitely a tool. I think that it's given to the wrong people, and I think that giving the ability to take debt to the government, it has benefited countries before, but I think that for the most part, this is the sort of thing that's abused and is used not necessarily to an immediate detriment, but I think it's like one of those like slow poisons that over time will eventually kill you. It's the cancer. It's not like it's not going to stab you in the chest and kill you immediately. It's going to be the cancer that kills you over a long period of time and extends your suffering and things like that. So that's my thoughts of the whole book. Is yeah, he is correct in the analogies, um and it is a tool, but I think that when you hand it to the government, when you hand it to the sovereign, when you hand it to the people that are in charge doing whatever you want to call them, you end up with just a whole bunch of problems caused by people that don't care about you. What are your thoughts, Mr. Zenith?
I think that, well, first off, after reading the book, are you surprised when I tell you that the guy teaches at Berkeley?
Not at all. Berkeley, for those of you who don't know what Berkeley is a part of California, specifically inside San Francisco, where a whole bunch of
I'll put it this way.
predictable behavior happens. I will say that if you take a look at Berkeley, if you look at what are the stereotypes of Berkeley, then you'll be like, aha! I bet I know what type of things happen inside of Berkeley. So that's where I will leave it. I'll say that there's a very high crime rate, a very high homelessness rate, and a very high percentage of rainbow colored flags and stuff that happens over in Berkeley. Not to say that those things are bad. I'm just saying that those are things that are common in Berkeley. Just say it, Will. They're communists. I'm not going to call them communists because I don't want to insult the communists. There's plenty of communists out there that are really good people, and I don't want to associate with them with Berkeley. Right? So I'm not going to call them communists. I'm sorry, Mr. Live. I won't do it.
Excellent soapbox there. I like it. So, look, do I agree with you on pretty much all those points? Yes, absolutely. But the point of bringing this up is I'm not trying to like poison the waters or anything, but to really highlight, and I want to give the first half of the show, we got to hype this guy up. We give him the benefit of the doubt. We got to make his arguments the best that we possibly can. So this guy clearly is effectively at this point, probably a tenured professor, a well-researched, well-read, well-written economist and historian to a degree. He definitely exists inside of or comes from the very liberal, or kind of like, I would argue, kind of like Cold War era, like liberal world order kind of level of thinking. So that's kind of like his starting point and the surroundings there. So that's where I see a lot of the arguments in the book come from, which is that where he's making the arguments that like debt is necessary for the creation of nation states, and it's also necessary in times of crises, whether it's war, internal crises, that kind of stuff. And he gives a good record of it. So World War I, World War II, those are very famous examples of just like the U.S. ramping up production, increasing government spending by a ton. I want to say the Manhattan Project alone was like $2 billion or something. which in today's money sounds pretty cheap. I'll have to do a cost inflation adjustment for that one. But at the time, it was $2 billion. So that kind of stuff in times of crises, you can use debt to mobilize an economy in a way that you physically could not if you were just going off like a pure cash system effectively. But when you can utilize debt, you can really allow people to pump out farther. And then additionally, on the other side, when it comes to reconstruction, this is something they argued, which is that if you're utilizing public debt for investment in infrastructure, especially, that can be helpful because it allows you to create the economy that can then backfill the debt to help cover it or at least get it closer to repairable. I guess one of the little known things is that the US actually used to always repay its debts. That was something that we used to do until the mid 20th century. I'm serious. All those initial wars that we started, the Revolutionary War, Civil War, War of 1812, Spanish American War. I want to say that all of those were paid in full. All the public debts were paid in full by the government. So that stuff happened, but what this book focuses on is the stuff after that. So think more of like 20th century, which is why I again say that I think he's definitely kind of like that Cold War era liberal world economic order kind of thinking, and you can see how it's the idea of we can do a lot with using public debt, so why shouldn't we? One of the big kind of like ways that he frames the book is what he said there at the end, pretty much, which is like debt is here to stay. Why not learn to use it the best that we can, or at least better than other people? It's like, okay, there are some presumptions there, but I understand it. He's kind of making the argument, which is like, look, the game is the way the game is. We can't really change it at this point, so let's just be the best of the game. Does that make sense?
And that's a fair argument. You know, like it exists, so use it and abuse it. We find ourselves in the situation that we're in because it was abused. The 2008 financial crisis, like, did a lot of things, and I've said this before. I have a lot of respect for Iceland specifically because they jailed all the bankers that did the bad stuff over in Iceland. They didn't bail them out; they jailed them. They sent them straight to jail. You don't go to the dentist, straight to jail.
Straight to jail. Believe it or not, jails.
Yep. So, like, I get it. Like, it's a tool that exists. So now we have to use it to remain on the top. Fucking sucks for you noobs, though. Fucking sucks for you plebes. Sucks for the middle class. Sucks for the lower class. Kind of sucks for the upper class. If you're in like the regular people echelon of the upper class. If you're in the fancy kids class or if you're in the asset class, then you're winning. So basically, get nice and close to that gold printer machine. Get nice and close and take part in that Cantillon effect, and you'll be all right. And if you're not, sorry.
That's true. Alrighty. So we got that. One of the main points that the guy brings up, and I think is necessary to establish early on, is that there is a difference between personal debt and governmental debt. In which case, like personal debt, not good. I mean, it can be used to benefit. Like, look at Robert Kiyosaki, our rich dad who claims to be $1 billion in debt, but it's good debt because he used it to finance investment ventures, and guess what? They're turning out very good for him. So personal debt is very different than governmental debt. Governmental debt is the thing that allows you to actually operate the government or get it going, especially in early stages. So I guess it's like a bit of a thought exercise. Let's imagine that, Mr. Will Stevenson, you want to establish a town, and you're going to get like, you want 100 of the boys, and you're just going to go build a town to set up and just get it going in the middle of nowhere. Without being independently wealthy, how would you finance this venture?
I don't fucking know, man. Just take under some debt.
You would issue public debt under the name of the township. You would create your governmental structure and then issue debt to pay for the projects. The goal of this is that you do that so that you can then build the community, the town, whatever you're trying to establish, and then based on your tax base, your revenue base, once it's up and running, that is effectively how it's going to be paid for, in addition to the cost of keeping it going, obviously. So that's the example of debt as from like the really basic level, which is that you got to get something going. You don't have much, but you have the people and the manpower of the companies that are willing to build the stuff. So you establish the township, issue the debt, and then get going on construction and then backfill it. The quote from the book on this one comes from the second chapter. He says, quote, "Borrowing allowed governments to act first and tax later," That's basically what this principle is, which is that saying, like, we're trying to do something. We have a plan. We can't pay for it yet, but we will. But we will.
It's angel investing. So, but without consequence. And also the people that end up paying for it don't really get a say in it. Kind of get a say.
Yeah, it's true. But that's pretty much the base, one of the fundamental concepts that we do need to get across, though, which is that governmental debt is very different than personal debt, and there are legitimate uses for governmental debt. Additionally, when you have governmental debt and legitimate uses, you probably also should start looking into what are the legitimate functions of said government. And that's going to be the stuff that you use debt to finance. So we're not quite to the critique section yet, because that's where I'm going to hit them, by the way, which is that what is the legitimate use of government? Not whatever the hell you want, but very specific things. So in that case, debt works out very well. Alrighty. Next up, let's go to, all right, we have the debt. Maybe your town issued bonds that it's going to have to pay out later on. And maybe you're the U.S. Federal Reserve and you issue bonds that have to be paid out later on, that kind of stuff. Okay. How do you actually get people to invest on these other than just trying to offer them sweet interest rates? I would argue you're looking for stability. And one of the big points that the author makes in the book is that globalization and democratization are two things that really helped investor confidence and allowed for the legitimate use and stability of governmental debt. So when you have a very democratic society, people feel they have a lot of input as to what's going on. Therefore, they have a lot of input as to the governmental debt. Theoretically, we're in the building up phase. We're building up our man here. Additionally, if you have access to global markets and global investors, that means that there are more people that are able to come in and buy up your debt. If you have a very globalized society, it means that you could also potentially go buy other people's debt if you're looking for an investment. It's kind of like that intertwining and interlocking that helps create confidence, because it helps get everyone kind of invested in each other to ensure that I'm doing this thing, you're doing this thing. So I have an incentive to make sure that you're doing it right. Conversely, you also have an incentive to make sure that I'm doing it right. And if we're both doing that thing right there, theoretically, this should all go great, right?
Theoretically. One would hope so.
Theoretically. Yeah. Next up, here's one of the fundamental things that he talks about. I know I said there's a bunch of fundamentals, but like this one's pretty big. How you manage the debt is one of the most important things. There's a bunch of case studies in the book about good management versus bad management. A lot of the good management kind of principles that he talks about, this is going to be stuff like, where are my notes? There we go. This is going to be democratic oversight, a clear budgeting process, having long-term fixed rate bonds. Again, stability on that one. Next up, you got to make sure that you're issuing the debt for productive investment or crisis stabilization. Then follow up, you got to have temporary expansion followed by consolidation, which is, look, you can issue the debt, but you got to consolidate at some point. Doesn't say you have to go all the way, but he just says you have to have those waves, that up and down motion, not just the explosion towards the upside, because that, again, shakes confidence. And then lastly, published account and credible statistics, aka good maths. And well, you know, we might be fans of a certain technology that would help publish accounts for everyone to see and check the math. Good old blockchain, that kind of stuff.
Hey, there you go.
So hear me out. He didn't talk about crypto in this book, but if he did, I think he might be a fan of blockchain technology. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's good for tracking purposes, and it's good for calculation purposes and decentralization purposes, which I do think are part and parcel to what he talks about a lot. So there's something there.
True. All right, let's talk about bad management. These are the things the author argues are bad ways to manage debt and will get you in trouble, and you will go into crisis eventually. Number one, autocratic or opaque control. This man spends a good bit of time railing against the monarchies, especially the monarchies that do things just because they can and just because they feel like it.
Yep.
That's the kind of stuff that leads to the revolts and the revolutions, and ultimately, I think a quote from it's from Christian Heinz, our buddy that did the came on for the law by Frederick Bastiat. One of the things he says is that no congressman has ever lost a seat for spending too much money, but plenty of rulers have lost their heads for it.
Yeah.
So there you go. Next up, we got bad management again. short-term and foreign currency debt. So having debt in foreign currencies, aka trying to pay it off with Zimbabwe dollars, or having very short-term debt doesn't really do anything for you. In fact, it kind of leads you in bad spirals, because if it's too short-term, then you're consistently trying to chase stuff and you can't have a good stable marketplace. And then additionally, if the short-term stuff fails, that means that the rest of the stuff is also going to fail. So even if you had short-term and long-term, the long-term stuff suffers if the short-term stuff really goes poorly. Next up, the purpose of spending should not be on political consumption or patronage, aka don't be using debt to buy people off and spend on stupid things. Good debt is used on productive investment. Bad debt is used on consumption. There you go. Next up, we got persistent deficits with no reform. This is bad. Go for it. Oh, please.
I want to real quick hop in on that last one. The difference between good and bad is immediate gratification versus delayed gratification. I just want to say that's something else that falls within the theme of most of the stuff that we talk about. It's like, if you do what feels good now versus you do what feels good later, you're probably more benefited in the do what feels good later camp. Like, more often than not, as like a generalized bell curve type kind of rule. So like, there's a lot of good points that you can take out of this generally not so great book. And I just wanted to focus on that one particular one.
There you go. All right. Last 2 points for bad management. Persistent deficits with no reform, aka no up and down, only up. So you have up and down that gives you confidence that you have the ability to even pay off the debt a little bit and start to close that gap. If you don't do that, you give zero confidence to the ability to actually pay off that debt. Last one here, hidden liabilities and off-book guarantees. This is the opposite of the transparency one, which is having published accounts and good math. This is saying having just random mines and hidden in your math and your ledger, and then also just doing it poorly and then making deals under the table as well. That's the kind of stuff that really, really will cause that debt to go poorly. So speaking of which, I do have some examples from the book, which I think they're pretty good. So constructive borrowing says Britain in the 18th and 19th centuries. During this time, they were trying to fight both France and Spain at the same time. He argues that this was good because war, always a pretty good use of debt, because it allows you to spend now to win now so that you are able to pay later because you're alive or you have a nation at least. The lesson from this one he's saying is if you have strong institutions, long maturities, incredible taxation, it allows you to be sustainable. That's one of the things that the Bank of England did well at this time, was that they actually had strong institutions. Leave it to the UK, very strong social stability going on there. Additionally, the Bank of London did a good job with actually managing the bonds that they were given, and they also had good, credible taxation and the economy and the economic base of citizens to support said taxation. Weren't taxing them to death, but it was the taxes that were required in order to keep the thing going so that they could show that they actually can pay off this debt once the wars are done.
What a time when people could pay off debts and
what a time to be alive.
Yeah. What a crazy notion.
Exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
Next up, another war. This time it's the US and it's World War II. He says the context here is when the U.S. debt to GDP ratio actually exceeded 120% in 1946. So this is after the war, saying that borrowing had financed a war that secured geopolitical leadership and industrial mobilization. Post-war growth, moderate inflation, and fiscal discipline readily shrank the ratio once they were out of World War II. This is one of the last few times I'm pretty sure that we actually, paid off this debt.
1947. What? Ridiculous.
Wild time to be alive. Next up, the lesson for this one was that debt that finances transformative investment coincides with strong growth and can self-liquidate. So saying, look, the reason for the debt, got to fight the Nazis, got to fight the war.
Gotta kill those damn Nazis.
Exactly. But this one's saying, look, there was a double-sided benefit on this one. We won the war, and we also had the production base after the war. Therefore, all that money we spent to tool up, we can now retool for industry later on. And as it just so happens, most of the fighting was done on not American soil. So we were kind of the biggest game in town, which is nice.
World War II was just like world changing as far as like who owns the money printer now, who owns the production now. That's why like the United States is the powerhouse that it is, because we didn't have to deal with people bombing our factories. Everyone was borrowing from the United States. Like in the beginning of World War II, Germany's tanks were built by Ford. Like people don't know this sort of stuff. A lot of German industrial engine stuff came from America. A lot of British stuff came from America. The British Firefly tanks, they're basically M4 tanks with a German, or not with a German, with a British 17-pound gun put on a United States M4 Sherman tank. Like everything in World War II came from America. Not everything, but a big part of like all of the supply and stuff in World War II came from America. So yeah, we got our world currency dominance from World War II because we didn't have to deal with all of the attacks at home. All we had to do was ship out people and people would buy our equipment. And then congratulations, now America is the industrial war machine. Like that was the beginning of like where we exist now and what we are and what we do.
Exactly. Alrighty. This next example I think you're going to be a fan of. It is the
Yeah.
Nordic countries in the 1990s, notably the
Mhm.
banking crisis.
Yes, the banking.
Will, what was the context for this one?
For the 1990s? Was
Yeah, in
that
the
the
Nordic countries.
dot-com bubble?
This is where they had a banking crisis, and then ultimately the government came in, did emergency borrowing to bail them out.
I am running a blank, broski.
It's all good. I'll tell you
I'm
what.
gonna have
That's
to
pretty
phone a
much
friend. My friend is Zenith.
that's
Go
pretty
for
much the entire story on that one. But
Okay.
here's what happened. This
Yeah.
the author is arguing this is an example where emergency borrowing can actually bail out industry and create social stability.
Yeah.
No one loves a good
Well,
run on the bank because, well, that's how people lose money.
I
Kind of
want
what
to also
happened.
say that the Scandinavian countries are very socialistic. Like it's very part and parcel to their culture up there, especially Norway. They thrive on that sort of. They're not very independent in the same sense that Americans are. So like for all of my Scandinavian friends out there, like you guys can attest that you guys work together differently than Americans do. America is very like fend for yourself, take care of yourself, do your own thing. Over in Scandinavia, it's all about the community. It's all about we all work together. It's all very communistic in the sense of community, not in the sense of like, oh yeah, wear red and have hammer and sickle communism. It's all very it's just a different culture over there, and it works. And it's different. So like that's something for folks at home to be aware of. But sorry, Zenith, please continue where you were going with that.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, so this one, here, I'll give you a little more context. During the 1980s, they did what we're calling financial liberalization, excuse me. And this is after they had tight credit control for years. Basically, the banks expanded rapidly. There was a giant bubble in both real estate, household debt, and just their overall economy. And then international interest rates rose in the 90s. And this is when things went kind of tits up, if you will. Sweden's GDP fell 5% in 3 years. Finland's fell 10%. And due to this loss, both banking systems were technically insolvent. So, because of that, a lot of people are losing out on the mortgage to their house, debt to their company, all that kind of stuff. So, the answer was the government guaranteed all bank liabilities. Pretty much, they were saying, look, whatever the bank owes, we are going to cover on our public debt because we have the ability to tax to pay it off, so it will make sense. We will do this in order to restore confidence so that they get enough breathing room to reform the banking industry and get it back to the correct position. Pretty much, they went from two ends of the pendulum way too fast. They were really tight for a long time, and then overnight they were like, boom, cheap credit, cheap money, come get it, whatever. They had a great boom for probably about 10 years. And then they had a few years there where it went very, very poorly.
Womp womp.
So they absorbed the non-performing loans, and then they had large-scale public borrowing. The debt to GDP ratios basically doubled. So it went from like 15 to 60% in Finland and from 40 to 70 in Sweden. The key point here is that the borrowing was deliberate, transparent, and temporary. What they did on this one is they straight up said it out front. They said, look, this is how much like we are insolvent. We are going to be taking this on. Here's the plan. And we're going to keep reporting it the entire time so you can hold us to it. This was kind of a ballsy move, if I'm not going to lie, because it's one of the rare times where you actually saw the government officials saying, "Look, I'm going to do this thing. Hold me to it." But overall, it worked out, and it was really built on the social cohesion and social trust aspect of it. These
Which,
countries are
you
these
know,
countries are famous for it.
Yep.
Exactly. So that's one of the huge benefits that allows you to do this kind of stuff, is that when you have these high trust societies, you can do this kind of math and be like, look, we're borrowing now, we're going to pay it off later. You trust me to pay it off. I trust you guys to, keep going and actually help fill the tax base. So like, it'll be fine. The math will work out. That kind of stuff.
And that's something that I respect that a lot about Scandinavia, is that sort of like cohesion spirit, and a lot of that has to do. Any of you guys that live up north understand that, like, when you're in the cold, survival is very different than when you live in a warm climate where you're not getting killed by the environment. So it's like it's you probably get something very similar in the desert on like the opposite side of the spectrum. So like the folks that live in like the Sahara or Northern Africa or something like that, they probably have something very similar. But like when the environment is out to kill you, you find a whole lot more people working together and doing things to solve sort of problems. So like it does not surprise me that their communistic systems work a lot better up there in the north. So that was all I wanted to add for that.
There you go. And got an example of bad management for you. Spain and France in the 17th and 18th centuries. Both monarchies that were fighting a war with the other two guys there, whether it's you're France and you're fighting Spain and England, or you're Spain, you're fighting France and England, or you're England, you're fighting those other twos. They were famous for that during that time period. But these were monarchies that repeatedly defaulted on their war loans, so that created their reliability when it came to the investor side. So
Reputation, yeah.
the next time they were looking to go stick it to the English, couldn't exactly finance it, and then ultimately kind of got overthrown and ended up just getting taken over by Parliament. Alrighty, excellent.
Fuck those Spaniards and Frenchmen of old that used to do horrible time lending. And it's not the Spaniards, the people, like the monarchies. Yeah, it's, you get this problem when you have despotism and
That's true.
governmental agencies that are given more power than is warranted.
That's true. Alrighty, I'm going to finish up our Steelman side of the argument here. I got a few things that I just want to wrap up before we can get after this guy. So, the core of what he's talking about is that finances are transformational. You can mobilize this money from the governmental standpoint to win wars, build infrastructure, and get a nation going so that it can sustain itself later on. It can be the thing that gets you off the ground, but then once you're off the ground, you got to find other stuff. So that's what it's for. Additionally, institutions are very, very important. If you can build the institutions, you can kind of build the cornerstones of the marketplace that you're trying to develop. Because without those cornerstone institutions, you can't build the rest of the economy on top of it. But once you do get the economy going off of it, you can then allow the economy to kind of backfill and even replace some of those things that were propped up initially. Lastly, or two more, we have credibility. If you use public debt correctly for long enough, it actually becomes trustworthy, which is that you have the track record, you show that you have the ability, you have the tools, you have the infrastructure to handle this kind of stuff. Therefore, it's kind of self-perpetuating, which is like you want to be able to issue debt. No one trusts you to issue debt. But if you can build up using that debt, then when times of crises come, it allows you to really lean on it and kind of go to those higher levels. And then lastly, crises, which is that this is one of the things that you use debt for. You can use debt to kind of weather the storm. So like in events or scenarios where you might get knocked over completely, you can at least weather the storm and battle back. You're not going to be gone. You're going to be alive. You're going to have a lot of debt that you got to pay off somehow, but you're going to be able to do so and then eventually get back to that baseline where you want. The justification that the author uses for this one is that, again, a lot of historical references. This book definitely kind of falls into the category of we're going for logical over moral. There's not a lot of moral judgments, but there's a lot of logical judgments of kind of like that thinking of like live to fight another day kind of stuff. Exactly that. Additionally, it's the amoralization of debt, which is why he talks about good and bad debt, showing that like, look, it's a tool. You can use it well, you can use it improperly. You can get wrecked or you can get wealthy. Figure it out. He argues
I
that
like that.
crises are evolutionary, not terminal. Defaults, restructuring, and inflations are treated as normal stages in the debt cycle, often leading to institutional learning. So, not saying that we should expect crises, but we should be learning from crises. So that way, the next time one of them comes around, we learn what not to do in the last one. Debt is what is going to allow you to do that. And then lastly, we have what he calls the modern expansion. This is where he talks about COVID era spending, which is that the world entered into a period where the government told you to stay home, businesses were shuttered, everything was shut down. This was almost a requirement for the government to kind of find a way to. The government ordered the shutdowns, therefore, it has to be able to backfill it. And it used debt to do just that. Pandemic became a contemporary example. Massive borrowing prevented economic collapse, echoing wartime finance in earlier centuries. So the conclusion on this one was their ability to borrow itself is a public good. It is everyone has a public good when the government is able to borrow. It's an interesting sketch, but we'll run with it. And then the back to the thesis. So they argue that public debt, far from being a modern curse, has historically been one of the essential engines of state formation, economic progress, and crisis resilience. From the war bonds that built empires to the welfare spending and pandemic relief that stabilized modern democracies, sovereign borrowing has allowed governments to act decisively when taxation or private capital could not.
I'm going to say this is survivorship bias.
I would agree on that one a lot. Debt, in their view, is a tool of governance. Its success depends on transparency, credible institutions, and productive use rather than raw size of liability. When managed wisely, it finances innovation, infrastructure, and social cohesion. When misused, it erodes trust and growth. Ultimately, the author urges readers to move beyond the moral panic over deficits and instead judge public borrowing by its purpose and management, not by ideology and fear.
Judge it by its purpose and management. Hey, I got an idea. How about let's judge things by their results rather than by their purpose? Right? If we've
not bad either.
I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough. Tell you what, we're going to take a halftime break here. We've done the first half. I think we painted this guy in the best light we possibly could, given his good examples, the good reasoning that he argues. And look, I think it makes sense. The argument put forward is that we can use debt to do things we could never even dream of without it.
Sure.
At scale, much larger than the individual, at scale, the governmental scale, this kind of thing is what builds nations and societies. And I'd argue nations and societies are pretty important things, and they allow for human flourishing. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Anything else that you think this guy got right?
No.
All right.
He described tools, and he described how they can be used well. And I'll give him that.
That's fair.
He cherry-picked the data very well to suit his arguments.
Yeah.
Wow, look at all these airplanes that are returning from their bombing runs, and they have all of these holes in them, but they still made it back. These airplanes must be doing so great. We're not going to pay attention to any of the airplanes that didn't make it back. It's like my thoughts.
Yes, for reference, folks, this is what Will is alluding to. The idea that if you could perform a study of all your bombers that came back, the little red dots are where they took damage. If you were now asked to reinforce this airplane, where would you put extra armor? Your first knee-jerk reaction is to be like, well, we should put it on the red dots, right? Because that's where they got hit, so they might need more they might need more armor there. It's like, remember, these are the ones that survived and returned, meaning that all those red dots show where you can get hit, and it's okay. All those dense little areas where there are no red dots, they might tell you that there's a critical system or critical piece of structural integrity there that needs to be defended. So the answer is to avoid the survivorship bias and actually figure out where it needs to go instead of, based on what did well, try to fix that.
Yes.
So, tell you what, Will, real quick, do you have the paper, good sir?
I do have the paper, ladies and gentlemen. But not only do I have the paper, I've got the paper and the phone print. It's time for chat motherfucking shoutouts, ladies and germs.
There we go. All right, Moondog coming in here. Says, sup, debt slaves.
What's up, debt slave?
Good to see you, sir, as always. Russ is saying, they debase the currency, so the payback sucks. Yes, this is one of the things that the book talks about. The author actually argued that there's an acceptable level of debasement that the populace will accept before they start to revolt or turn to alternative solutions. Weimar Germany is the example that he gave for when you go way too far. And that's when the Deutschmark became so worthless. Toilet paper was somehow more expensive than that. So they used it for it. Mr. Moondog coming in here says, nah, I only half buy the thesis. It's already here. Might as well master it. Sure, then supersede it and mend the moral break between money, value, and work. That debt makes too easy. I am
not so humble opinion.
There we go. Thank you. He said, if you have a democratic society, we don't really. Legendary American myth, though. Yeah. Look, you're good, sir. You are technically correct. But I think that the overall point from the author was that it's kind of it's the campfire story of democracy. If the people believe that their input to the system actually matters, then they're more willing to buy in and go along with it. I agree with you. Like, are we a democratic society? No, we're a republic. We have some democratic tendencies, but at the end of the day, we are a republic. And then even inside of that, there's, degrees of how much we actually can do with it, but that's neither here nor there. Just Live, you actually brought up one of the things I'm going to hit the author on later on, perpetual war. That's right. I think incentive systems and the creation of incentives based on debt spending, I think are something that are a little bit overlooked on this one, but you're right on the money there. Russ is saying, yeah, don't forget the Stamp and Sugar Acts in the 1760s. Yeah, those might have led to something. It was a long boil for the kettle to boil over on that one, but both of those acts were very, very critical in the Revolutionary War time.
I will say there was a book club that I covered on July 4th where we read the entire Declaration of Independence and Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss, and that was a good book club. So it's like you got to hear all of the grievances that caused us to declare independence from Britain. And yeah, the Stamp and Sugar Acts of the 1760s certainly led to some tea getting thrown overboard and some other crazy fun things.
That's true. Alrighty, up next, we got Hex Glenn saying, gents, good to see you, by the way, sir. Thanks for coming in here. We just wrapped up trying to steel man the argument from the author. After we finish out chat shoutouts, we're gonna argue with the man, see where we might differ with him.
Hell yeah.
Moondog is coming in here. The Oils 80 bust rolled into junk bonds, then imploded in the 90s. Gotta love it when things come home to roost less than 10 years later. Crazy how that works. All right. Anything else? Russ, should the Fed chair have term limits? Should the Fed chair even exist to begin with?
Should they even exist? Thank you, Moondog.
What do you think, Will? Should the Fed chair have term limits?
I don't give a shit. Sure, why not? Like, they're a person in a position of power. If you give them term limits, then like you might lose cool ones and you might get worse ones. Don't they currently have term limits anyways?
Let me look it up. Let's see.
Because Jerome Powell's term is coming to an end, but that doesn't mean that he can't just be reappointed, does it?
That's true. They can be reappointed. They say no, the Federal Reserve Chair does not have term limits and can serve multiple 4-year terms subject to renomination by the presidency. So there are term limits, but not like hard term limits. Like what I think Russ is talking about here, which is like you can only be president twice, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll say no, doesn't fucking matter. Because like if they're a good chair, then they're a good chair. And if they're a bad chair, then they're a bad chair. And theoretically, the bad chairs will not be elected again or appointed again because they're not elected. They're appointed, aren't they? They're appointed by the president, right?
Yes, I believe they have to get confirmation.
Well, there you go. They have to be Catholic and they have to get confirmed. They have to pick a patron saint. And
yes, the Federal Reserve Chair must be nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Sorry, no House of Representatives on this one. Just the
sorry,
Senate.
Representatives.
Yeah, too many of you guys couldn't figure it out anyways. So I think I'm with Will on this one, which is is this something that needs term limits? I would argue no. I think the sentiment and the sentiment behind having term limits on these kind of like elected governmental positions, I understand it, which is that especially for representation, you want to have that change out so often, so that way you get fresh blood. There's no just like people that stay there forever, because the incumbent's advantage in politics, by the way, this is going to be a very heavy political episode, so apologies to you folks that don't like our talks on that, but it is what it is. Blame me. I chose the book.
Cry more. If it's not your cup of tea, cry more or go away. We're here to talk and have fun.
Incumbent politicians have the highest win rate. I want to say it's above like 97%. It is wild. The reason that they can do that, A, they're in the office, so they have a track record to show that, like, hey, I've been doing things. You like the things that I do? It's the classic trope of like everyone hates senators and representatives except the ones from their state because they like what they do. It's like, well, guess where they run? In those states where they're liked. So you might not like the guy from a different state that's the opposite color of you, but guess what? Over in that state, they probably like him. Additionally, the ability to use government resources to campaign, namely free postage, baby. You like those mailers? Guess what? Incumbents get them for free. So term limits are great for helping remove the incumbent problem, which is that you, like, theoretically, if you have a 97% win rate, are you ever betting on you losing? I think the answer is no. So if you're trying to get true representation of a local community or state, then having term limits, yes, makes sense for sure. I think the Federal Reserve chair varies differently. What we're looking for from the Fed chair, I would argue, is stability, because we're trying to deal with the entire economy, the largest economy in the world. And something like that, I don't think benefits from having quick, successive change that can swing back and forth rapidly. Because if you want a healthy economy and you want healthy investment in particular, you want stability and confidence. That's one of the things that the book was talking about here, which is that I know it's different from investment, but just being able to issue public debt, somebody's got to buy it up to help pay for it. If no one's going to buy it because they're not confident in you, can't happen. So for the Federal Reserve, do I hate the institution? Yes, I do. Hear me out. Don't miss that point right there. That's important. As the Federal Reserve exists, and I have no ability to get rid of it, term limits on Federal Reserve chairs, I think, is a bad thing. I think, like Will said, if you have somebody in there that's doing a good job, keep them in there as long as you can, or as long as their leadership is necessary. Which is, if the situation changes and you might need someone with a different approach, different understanding, different specialty for the times, the challenges of the times, then yeah, replace a guy. But as far as having like hard term limits, like you can only ever be in there for 4 years, I think it just creates a little turnover that's unnecessary, shall we say.
I will say that it makes no difference. It's asinine. One, you don't have the ability to make it happen. Two, if it did happen, would it be solving the problem that you're identifying? So, like, what is the problem that we're going to identify? Like, should they have term limits, right? Is the problem that they're corrupt and they're doing horrible things? Well, I mean, the existence of the whole entity is not in alignment with my values to begin with. So it's like, hey, is this person I can't say that word. They don't allow the R word on YouTube. Is this person having a very bad time? Right? Yes. Okay. Should they only have a very bad time for 4 years, or should they be allowed to have a very bad time for as long as it's an asinine point? One, I don't have the ability to enforce it. Two, I don't really care because I think the whole thing is corrupt to begin with. So it's just like it's not a thing worth debating, in my opinion. I'll say it makes no fucking difference. That's my thoughts.
Fair
on
enough.
It. But
Russ,
it's good for you to be thinking about it, Russ. Should they have limits? Maybe.
Well, thank you, Moondog. I guess I'm a fool.
Thank you.
Hoping a bad institution does good under good or bad
supporting my asinine argument. Yes.
Look, you have a very good argument. I guess call me a fool. I'm just trying to figure out how to run that ship the best it is, disregarding if it's a good ship at all to begin with. So, look, that argument that you're making right there, I think, is one of the arguments that I'm going to be making against our author here coming up. So, let's get into it. Will, is there anything you want to hit this guy on first? Where do you disagree with this man?
I disagree because he empowers people that I think are bad.
Okay. By empowering them, what are they able to do that is not good?
He says you should be able to use a tool that can be manipulated to cause other people to have a bad time. And
That's
so, like, that's the crux of this whole book is like, should people be able to go into debt? Sure, why not? Should I be able to go into debt that you owe on your behalf to make my own decisions for how I think you should, you know, like people that don't earn the money are making decisions on how much money they take to spend on things for other people that they don't care about. Yeah, or maybe they do care about it, but like it's just it's a there's like there's the did you earn it, there's the does it affect you, there's the do you care, right? So those are the three questions that you have to ask in your little matrix of yes no, right? You take the yes nos and you compare it against those three options and you get this little matrix, right? Did you earn the money? No. Do you have to pay it back? No. Do you care how well the money is spent? No. It like all of these little things resulted in ineffective and inefficient calculation. And it's just like when I'm spending someone else's money on something for someone else and I don't have to pay it back, like I don't give a fuck how I spend the money. If Zenith comes up to me with his credit card and he says, "Hey bro, I need to throw the best party ever. Take this and do with it what you will." Oh, you best believe I'm gonna go and buy all the fanciest shit, and I'm gonna get all the stuff, and I'm gonna definitely go buy some things for me, right? This is presuming I'm the government here, not actually me, because I'm a good person and I'm trustworthy and I have a reputation that's at stake, right?
there you go.
Not all governments care about their reputation. So take all of these points that I'm saying and condense it into a big giant or a nice little ball of like, this dude's off his fucking rocker, but like I understand the point that he's making. He's describing about how these things can be used great, how they can be used well, how they have been used well in the past. And much like the airplanes that flew back to the base after World War II, in World War II, that got shot the fuck up, it's like, look at this, all these surviving planes. That's where I think we stand with this particular book and this author's argument. What about you, Zenith? What do you think? Let me reflect your question right back to you.
I think that the book lacks limiting principles. What I mean by that is that this is a monetary policy book that is using a governmental tool, but does not implement any governmental policy along the way. It is saying that we have the magic wand that can do a lot of things, but at the same time, it's not. I understand that he's trying to make an explanation for the financial system, and trying to do that without making moral judgments helps like make a clean, concise argument. But at the same time, though, ignoring what the role and purpose and scope, the ceiling scope of government, of what it is, what it should do, and what it should try to do. I think that those are the limiting principles that are not really talked about in this book. And I know we mentioned the guys from Berkeley, and that he is very much of like the old school democratic liberal world economic order kind of stuff. And this is where I disagree with them the most, which is that they kind of have like the idea that they're trying to chase utopia a little bit, which is like, we are the smartest we've ever been. We are the wealthiest we've ever been. We're allegedly the strongest we've ever been. Therefore, we should try to accomplish as much in whatever ways we possibly can. It's like, cool. Maybe you as an individual can do that. That is not the role and function of government that was outlined under A, our social contract, but B, also the literal contract, which is the Declaration of Independence in the Constitution, that has been in place, been ratified and amended when needed, but still remains intact and is the framework. There are 23 enumerated powers granted to the federal government, and they have slowly, sometimes rapidly, been expanding to include more and more stuff. Love the founders, but goddamn, that for the economic commerce clause, the interstate commerce clause, and the general welfare clause, those are kind of coming back to bite us in the ass, I think. So because there's no limiting principle on what you can use public debt to do, it's almost asking the question of why are we not doing these things already? And I think that's where you get into really dangerous territories, because that's where you even start doing some of the stuff that the author like cited as bad, which is like consumption spending and just like spending that is not like actually good investments. Those are the kind of things that will ultimately corrupt the debt and then turn the people against you. And I think that as the US, we've been doing that for a while now. Like gosh, the Doge papers and stuff that came out, those were some of the most eye-opening things for me personally, because it was actually like looking into what we're actually spending all this money on when it comes to foreign investment, and just so much of it was garbage. But also internally, a lot of the spending was garbage as well. Like the EPA had a $300 billion slush fund that they could like pretty much use for whatever they wanted. And in fact, there was one company that was uncovered as part of the Doge investigations, which was that it was a economic justice company that had only been around for 5 months, or I think it was like 5, 6, 7 months or something like that. But they were given $5 billion. They effectively did nothing other than just work for environmental justice. What does that
I
mean?
wish that was
What do
me,
you
man.
do? It like
I wish
that
I
kind of
knew how to make these things. You know?
hear me out. The game theory says if you can do that, then do it, because $5 billion is an unfathomable amount of money for an individual. It is colossal. Like that is, I think, what do they say? Like on average,
Bro,
a
why
person's going to
would
earn over their entire lifetime like $2 million.
why
Cool.
would anyone not do that? I
Agreed.
would do it. I wish I fucking knew how to do it. You know? There's probably a
Agreed.
way to get it done.
To get off the personal soapbox and back to the argument here, though, that kind of spending only comes from debt issuance. We are running at a, what is it, like two almost $3 trillion deficit every year at this point. When you are running that kind of deficit for that kind of spending, that creates some really bad systems, and it absolutely creates corruption at that point, in my personal opinion. I think that when you're doing that kind of debt spending for the exact thing that you said was bad, that's exactly it. And I think the author makes no point to actually stand against that stuff other than just like calling out, oh, this country spent some bad stuff here. They did some bad stuff there. Oh, that monarchy was very opaque and bad with math. So they got taken over. It's like, yes, those are all true principles. But you're arguing that debt can be used to build nation states and survive crises. But at the same time, you're arguing for the thing that is also being used for everything else. And you're not even acknowledging that there should be limiting principles on this kind of stuff. I think that is one of the big weak points in the book, which for me, like, that's a lot of it. Additionally, the other argument I'm going to make here is that I think even in the examples of good debt, which is like, oh, we have to survive a crisis, we have to survive a war, you are now incentivizing those things because people are getting paid off of this. People at the individual level now have an incentive to benefit off of war and crisis. Two things that we're typically trying to avoid, by the way. But if you've created an incentive for it, it means that you have you're showing people that this is the way.
People go where they're treated best, man.
Exactly. This goes back to Russ's point, forever wars. This is how you get the forever wars. If you incentivize spending and the spending goes towards individuals who use that money to live their lives and better their lives, the whole purpose of their lives is now to further perpetuate that cycle, which is ultimately going to lead you to these negative effects. A lot of, again, I think I'm making two arguments that are definitely they're externalities based, which, look, the author would say like, hey, I'm making a monetary book here. Where are you talking about externalities? Well, you're talking about the governmental level. Government is all externalities, baby. If you're arguing for governmental debt, you also have to argue for the stuff on the other side of it. You can't just look at the good and ignore the downside. You gotta tackle the whole thing on this one. Do you think that those are fair arguments to make? Which is like, the man wrote a monetary book, but I'm dinging him on like, you didn't talk about that we can't just use this for whatever.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, bro. You're absolutely right. It's like you should look down the order of degrees of the things that are like, how foolish would that be of me if I were to create a plan and just not think anything whatsoever about like the different stages of fallout as a result of my plan? You know, again,
Do you think that they're go for it?
I presume that this dude lives a sheltered life inside of his nice little box, and he's never had to deal with like very how should I don't want to come off as insulting, but I just don't think that this homie has a lot of life experience, and he's like safe in his little bubble. groupthink and circle jerking ideology and sort of thing. And you know that would lead a person to write a book about this sorts of things. It's like if I only lived my life inside of a very small camp or cult of people that all just love drinking Kool-Aid, you know, thinking that it's going to save them, right? It would not be surprising that I write about the wonderful effects of drinking Kool-Aid and how everybody that I know is super awesome as a result of it. Like I think that this dude lives in a bubble and is surrounded by, you know, groupthink and ignores you know, positions outside of his own. It's my two thoughts.
I'm largely inclined to agree with you on that one, which is based on the track record. I think that especially in today's day and age, which by the way, which is when this book was written.
Can
I
you
think
say
that,
the name of the book that we couldn't find?
Exorbitant privilege.
Oh wow, what a surprise.
Look,
What
a lot of the stuff it's coded like that for sure. I'll take the other side of the argument on this one to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. Even if he has escaped the bubble and he's worldly and he's traveled and well educated, I'm still going to make the argument that I think he is a product of the times that he grew up in and operated the most in. Which, to go back to it, he started teaching in '87. He's been around pretty much end of the Cold War, 2000s, that kind of stuff. So I think he's been largely shaped by, again, that like liberal world order thinking, or kind of like the end state of the 20th century, which is everything following World War II. That kind of philosophy, I think, is what dictates this ideology. So like, even if you're in that, I think there are certain things that are the conclusions of that kind of thinking. It is believing that we defeated the Soviet Union by bankrupting them through economics, and that economy was largely affected by government spending and all the great things that the government has done through those times. I think that it is a large oversight, because the man even makes the argument that consumption is not something to be spent on. But he also in the book makes the argument that welfare is the new warfare, which is that welfare is the thing that he's trying to achieve, he's trying to achieve social cohesion through welfare. I understand the sentiment. Believe me, I get it, which is that if you want to have a stable society, people should have some sort of social safety net or some sort of like bare minimum, and people aren't just going to be left dying in the streets. I get that. I think that using public debt for that kind of thing is the wrong incentive, because what you're just doing is you're incentivizing the machine to spend more and more money. You're not incentivizing the free market to come up with its own solutions. The free market ultimately was pushed out of this sector by the government spending, and it replaced it. Charity and churches, for the vast majority of human history, have picked up this social safety net and been the large part of it. I think that, again, this is going to be taking another argument here, but I think like the death of religion and kind of the elevation of humankind to this godhood status is one of the lessons that came, or trends or experiences that came out of the 20th century. And I think it's kind of embodied by this kind of thinking, which is that we are able to solve all of our problems through governmental forces and utilizing debt and just growing the government bigger and that kind of stuff. I think that is the kind of stuff that this guy pulled away from it. And it may have worked at a time. I think we're starting to see the failures of it, especially in the post-COVID era. I think we're starting to see a lot of that failures. And to even turn one of his arguments against himself, which is that using welfare to create social cohesion, I think has actually gotten to the point where it's creating social discohesion, which is that on its surface, in a vacuum, does it make sense? Yes. We do not operate in a vacuum. We came out of World War II. We had one of the greatest economic booms in history since the Industrial Revolution. The generation that grew up during that time and really reaped the benefits of it are now the people that are benefiting the most from welfare, legislation, social safety nets, that kind of thing. Meanwhile, there are economic issues that are going on in today's day and age, like young people struggling to find a job, industrialization pushing people out of the workforce in favor of automation. And I think the one that we're going to have to contend with in the next decade here is AI and the replacement of human workforce. I think that those things, in combination with watching the people that grew up during the wealthiest time, and then now also creating legislation and getting welfare that benefits them at the cost of this generation's now debt that they're going to ultimately inherit, I think that creates social discohesion. Like, if you look at, if you just look at the sentiment online, where you find a lot more of the younger generation as opposed to the older generation making jokes about boomers is like one of the hot topics, and it has been for like almost 2 decades at this point.
They
As long
fucking deserve it.
and it's that kind of stuff, which is like you're getting to the point now where you are almost necessitating that welfare becomes a thing because you are fostering such a sentiment in the younger folks that they don't want to take care of these people. So it's like, nah, I'm putting them in a home. I'm getting them out of sight, out of mind. So I think it's gotten to that point. So look, can the debt be used for purposes within the scope of government? Yes, absolutely. That example I gave of try to start a township, boy, I have thought about that myself many times, had many a daydream about like, how would I do that? How do we go find some land near a river and we just try to start a town with the boys? Believe me, I've been there. But at the same time, though, I think the expansion of debt, it's gotten to the point where it's actually like, I do think it is ultimately going to be the house of cards that collapses the global marketplace. Like it, I know we talk about that one a lot on Degen Roundtable on the news shows where it's like, we're now at such and such debt limit. Oh man, our debt just got downgraded by the world. Whoa. All these people are trying to knock the US dollar off the world reserve currency status. What's going to happen when that happens? Like, let me tell you, not some good stuff. Do you think that's a fair argument though, that the welfare is actually gone so far that it's going against social cohesion?
Oh, for sure, man, for sure.
Okay.
Because like the ability to get welfare, super fucking easy, you know. And what is welfare? Welfare is other people's money sent to you for it's robbery, right? It's robbery when used over an extended period of time. It's like graceful forgiveness when used for a short stint. So
Oh, for
like
sure.
if I come upon bad times and I use welfare for a short period of time, then it's like, okay, you know, it's like help, I've fallen and I can't get up. Okay, here's a lending hand, broski. But when it's like I'm just constantly like pulling other people down and pulling other people, it's like, oh man, I'm stuck on the floor and I just keep pulling people down with me. And like, oh, you got to help me up, and I just keep ripping them and you know, like pulling them down, and I don't make any effort to get up myself. Then it's like, oh, that's robbery. So like welfare extended over time becomes robbery, and folks don't like being robbed, and somebody's got to pay for it, and you either pay for it directly in taxes or you pay for it indirectly with inflation. And it's just it's one of those things where if you give people an inch, they'll take a mile if they're people of not awesome and excellent moral fiber. So that's a beautiful cat. I love the cat. Yep.
What a cute.
But that's my thoughts on the whole thing. I think that welfare can be good, but I think it's massively abused. And I think that it's massively abused because it's super easy to abuse it. And it's, you know, like if I had the ability to abuse it, I sure as fuck would. So, yep,
Yeah.
Government money is not yours. Ask corporate America.
Yeah. Tell you what, I'll give you my final argument against the book, and it's against the COVID-19 chapter. I think
the whole fucking book kept referencing COVID-19. What are you talking about, chapter?
Yeah, it's true. Well, specifically the one dedicated to it.
Okay.
The argument that was made is that we faced a truly unprecedented global pandemic, and he argued that it took more American lives than the entirety of the Vietnam War. I'm going to look that up real quick, by the way.
Jesus Christ.
882,000. Okay. Let's see.
That's like 1/3% of America.
I
suppose if you take official numbers and not like people who die of a heart attack that get labeled as COVID so that the hospital gets more money, which is most of them.
Yeah, sorry, apologies for the dead air there. So the CDC estimate for as of January 25th, 2022 was 1.2 million. This was where this was the precedent that was used to shut down the entire country by force of law. And then also as a result of it, There was economic spending as a result. The PPP loans granted to businesses, all the additional welfare that was sent out, stimulus checks, that kind of stuff, that was funded by government debt. That's the justification for it. They're saying, like, look, because we used the government debt, we're able to survive this crisis. Was COVID a bit of a crisis? Yes. I personally happen to believe that the crisis was self-inflicted, though, which is that the reaction was the crises. The shutting
Yes.
down of the world. I think we have great examples of other countries that tried to do the controlled avalanche, if you will, that fared a lot better. I think that this was a perfect case study for the overreach of government power when enabled by things like the ability to spend almost infinitely through public debt. COVID stats and graphs are one of the things that we point to so much on this channel when it comes to the monetary policy side of things, which is there was so much money printed during that time. And just the amount of public debt that went up and government spending is astronomical. These are the things that caused when we had basically a full year of like 10 to 12% inflation that absolutely decimated people. And then we still continue to see elevated inflation. By the way, numbers at 3.0% currently for the last month. This is the kind of thing where I talk about you create the incentive structure for not good things to happen. I think when you have this level of spending, this level of power, this ability, and this hunger to spend this much, you get into the point where you get all the negative stuff. You get overinflated COVID death results where you were just incentivized to misreport this stuff. Now we're obfuscating truth that could actually be helpful to preventing the thing that we're actually trying to prevent. You are now encouraging government overreach, which I very much thought was happening. Look, the government does have the ability to kind of do this kind of stuff for a short amount of time when it's justified. Carrying it out for 2-3+ years is absolutely not justified, especially when the numbers are being skewed as well. And then additionally, the spending that went on during the time, that is one of the things that we are still dealing with. And I'm pretty confident we're going to be dealing with that probably for the next decade. Like that kind of stuff is going to hurt for so long, and because it was self-inflicted too. And it was all done under the guise of we have the ability to do this because we have the money, or the fake money, if you will. This is where we got that clip from the guy at the Federal Reserve who's like, don't worry, everything's fine. There's a near infinite amount of money at the Federal
We have
Reserve.
an infinite amount of cash in the Federal Reserve.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that clip is now infamous.
That's
And
such
I
a
love
meme.
when it gets memed on, by the way.
Yeah.
That kind of look, is government debt the thing that incentivized all that? No. It is part of what made it possible, though. The overlying issue is just the ability to use the massive government at the time to do that kind of thing. And then the debt was the tool to do so. If you curb in the debt, you remove the tool to do these kind of overreaches. I think it's a two-pronged attack on this one. You got to figure out the debt thing, and you got to figure out the governmental power thing. I think that, again, it kind of comes from that liberal world economic order there, that liberal hive mind thinking, if you will, which is that the way that the COVID-19 case is presented definitely gives you a window into what the author's politics are and his worldview. So I happen to think that is that's probably one of the most critical events of my lifetime outside of 9/11. I think that those two are probably the most critical events that have happened during my lifetime. And I'm going to be surprised if we see something else don't want to set myself up for failure on that one, but I would be surprised if we saw something else on that scale in the next decade. It's entirely possible based on the current trajectory that the country's going, but that kind of stuff, like, look, I think that when you talk about the governmental debt, you also have to have that like philosophical argument as well about what is this government for? What are we trying to do? What is an overreach? What is legitimate? What is illegitimate? That kind of stuff. So, look, I think it's a pretty good book. It's definitely an academic, technical book. So apologies if you're looking for something a little easier to understand. This is not that. But at the same time, I think that this is a great window into the thinking of people on that side of the aisle and the arguments that they make in defense of the actions that they take. I understand how it comes off as good intention, or it could even be good intention. But again, I think it goes back to one of the first arguments that I made there, which is that Will made, which is that you're not doing the second, third order thinking. You're only going off of that first order thinking. And look, I happen to think Thomas Sowell is right on this one. If you're not considering the higher orders of thinking, then you are fundamentally setting yourself up for failure.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you struck a point there when you said talking about the worst things that happened in your life. I would definitely say that COVID was worse than 9/11. And both were self-inflicted. I would also think about that's the other point that I would take is like the response to COVID was worse than the disease itself. And like, we did it to ourselves. We did it to our fucking selves. And when I say we, I mean, the governing bodies and people playing along, people not resisting, people acting like sheep, people just doing whatever the fuck people tell them to do. Like, oh yeah, wear your mask, get a jab, stand 6 feet away from each other, report your neighbors to the Gestapo if they if they do something out of line. Submit to like showing your papers, please, bro. One of the things, I don't know if I've said this on stream before, but like I work in the communications field. I build TV and radio towers, and so when COVID first started happening, we got sent these papers that is like, hey, because you work as a like semi-subsidiary of the FCC, the Federal Communications
Commission,
something, right? Because I work underneath like United States communication stuff, because TV is an emergency broadcast, whatever the hell. They gave us special fucking papers that were for like passing through checkpoints and stuff, if ever it came to that. And it's like, holy fuck, like Gestapo stuff, man. Like, it's like crazy. But anyways, it was all self-inflicted, and it's all a result of governing agencies and money printers and big people up top making plays and fucking with you guys and myself and Zenith down here in the middle and the lower economic zone. So, do with it what you will. I think that homie that wrote this book has good intentions, and I think he has good data, and I think that he only listens to, the things that circle jerk his own opinion. And I'm happy that I consumed this book. That was a lie. I'm not happy that I consumed this book.
Sorry, Will.
Yeah, it was painful, and I'm gonna get back at you, Zenith. At some point, we're gonna read Mein Kampf. That's going to be on the list, and so that's gonna be my punishment for you, Zenith. Is that if we're gonna play the villain arc, then we're gonna play the villain arc, and we're gonna start reading some funky things that might get us banned on YouTube or something. But the point is, like, it is important. Like, I understand the reason why you select this book. It is important to read things that you might disagree with, so that way you can really test your position, and you can test your thoughts and test your religion. Like, what is it? The unstruck lock, or like, if you never test the locks on your gate, then how do you know if they'll hold up to an attack or whatever? So like, test your beliefs. Go out and consume things that are antithetical to what you currently think about and stuff, and make sure that you really know the things that you know. So that's what I've got, and thanks for putting me through this.
Oh, you're welcome.
Excruciating thingamajigger. That's all I got, man. Those are my final thoughts on the book.
For sure. Overall, it was one of the reads of all time. I was more pleasantly surprised by the last one than this one, but at the same time, like, going through this, it was like, okay, yep, I understand the arguments you made. I've kind of heard a lot of these before. This is a more technical explanation. I happen to think that the technicals get overlooked by the people actually issuing this kind of stuff, because they don't understand it, nor do they care.
This book was so fucking technical, man. I was explaining to Zenith not Zenith. I was explaining to my coworker Levi, who has since left to go get some steak. Happy Halloween, everyone at home, by the way. I totally forgot it was Halloween today, but like, this book is super fucking technical, man. I'm like 101 knowledge for how all this stuff works, and this is like a 103, 104 book. And so, like, I cranked through it, but like, man, there was a lot of stuff in there that was just like fucking right over my head. But sorry, I interrupted you. Continue with your thought process.
I was trying to think of final good things I can say about this book in defense of me picking it, or not really. You can just if they're bad. Have I called books? Yeah, I did. I think I called Power of Now bad, and I don't know why I chose it.
Really? I enjoyed.
Do you remember? That one was.
I was not able to join you guys on book club for that one, but I really liked that book.
Really, the big one for that one for me was, it was making the argument of like, living in the present is the most important thing. And it went even as far as to say, like, thinking about the past and trying to think about the future is self-defeating if you're not in the present. And I'm like, I feel like if you take this on its face, it's actually arguing against planning and foresight, which I would argue are some of the most important things. And additionally, learning from past lessons. It's like,
Yeah, I would say there was probably more of a metaphorical point than a literal point for that one.
it's hard because the book also made literal points as well. So trying to read between the lines of if is the author talking metaphorically or literally is a little bit difficult.
You just need to do more mushrooms, Zenith. That's all that it is. You just need to
No.
get you on some psychedelics,
No,
bro.
I'm good. I'm good with the current state of mind that I have.
That's probably for the best.
I would argue. I deal with the maths a lot, so I need to make sure that my math is good when I do it. True. Alrighty. Oh gosh. Well, I guess in defense of public debt, in defense of forever wars and forever crises and forever welfare. There you go.
All right.
We have a good one. Russ,
Yeah.
Will, and Zenith, thanks for reading it so I don't have to.
You're welcome, bro. You're welcome. We will suffer so that you don't have to. We will read this garbage and tell you about it so that you don't got to. It's like who's that? A whiteboard crypto guy. I'm just doing this
Love the
teaching
guy.
stuff so that my lazy friends don't have to. So that's freaking awesome.
I dig it. I dig it. All right.
Yeah.
Tell you what, sir. Go ahead and grab that paper. Let's do one more.
It's time for chat motherfucking shout outs, ladies and germs. The best part of the show.
Oh my gosh. We had so many here. Oh my gosh. Where do I start?
I
Where do
did star a lot of them.
I see him. Cameron Robinson White coming in here, talking a little bit about his personal experience. He says, we have a public that waives its right in court, the most important check on government and the Constitution. I never waived my right to a jury trial, and they dismissed the case because of its power.
Fucking A right. This is very, very important. Fucking good shit. Good shit, Cameron.
Yeah. We also have Just Live saying, we vent not to complain. Gotta vent or you lose your ish. I vent so I don't end up on the nightly news. Yes, sir. Gotta stay off the nightly news. That's one way to do it. I very much agree with that one. Moondog, why pay debt down when you can inflate it to meaningless?
Hey, that's
Yes,
the way
sir.
home loans work.
Look, if you're here, it means that you're probably here for a lot of the crypto content and you also like the book club stuff. Well, I would argue that's one of the things that we look for when it comes to crypto projects, and it's why we largely focus on Bitcoin as well. A, because it leads the market, but B, because it was the first one that really addressed that point exactly, which is that the money is becoming more worthless, and it's harder and harder to buy stuff on top of it as well. Double compounding effect there. Yeah,
I will say, if you've got debt that your rate is below inflation, then you're winning.
Yeah.
If your debt is 3% and inflation's 8%, you get an extra 5%.
Cameron came in here. This is a hot take. I would love to hear an explanation on this one. I'm down for it. He says we're still in the Great Depression since 1928. Interesting. So let's see. He was saying the inflation is there to hide it. Okay, so let's try to make the argument here. If you have the argument for us, go ahead and type it in. But I'm gonna try to make it here. So 1928, we had the run on the banks after just two decades of just exorbitant spending. This is also post World War I. This is pre World War II, so we can't take that into account at all. Great Depression was definitely elongated by the government spending that went on at the time. Since then, World War II happened. We had the manufacturing base come back, boom in technology, boom in industrialization, declining global, definitely European output at the time. And then 50s, 60s, 70s, get into a lot of the stuff there. We had hyperinflation. We have gas crisis, 2000.com bubble crash. Inflation really only kicked in once we went off the gold standard for good. We definitely went off it. We kind of came off the gold standard at multiple points, but it really, the final nail in the coffin was I want to say 72. I talk about this enough. I should have my dates correct, but 72 is when we officially went off of it. And that is where we really see the US dollar start to dip heavily.
I don't think anyone's going to fact check us.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Well, the chat might. They already roasted us pretty good at the beginning, so
Fuck.
don't doubt them.
Get up here on camera, chat. If you guys are gonna fact check us, you might as well pull out your webcam, pull out your phone.
Look, I understand the sentiment. I do. Part of me wants to believe it, but at the same time, I think that we've just had enough new technology and enough growth from just a population standpoint as well that we're almost a century since 1928. That's crazy to believe, but yeah, I think it's an interesting theory. I like it. I don't necessarily know if it checks out. Bummer. All right, let's get a few more in here. Just live saying the BS has continued since the old COVID-19 flip-flopping bad info on everything. Can't believe anyone. They're just changing the stories. Infected monkeys, alien comments, ceasefire, pick your poison. That's right. The aliens was a big thing that came out during this era. The government was just like, we have more reports on alien appearances we would like to discuss. It's like, why now?
Bro,
Why
because fucking moon bears.
That's true.
Do you know about moon bears, Zenith?
The bears appearing outside of the moon base causing issues.
Yes. For the folks at home, should I pull that clip up for the folks at home for the end of the show?
Now
we've done it before. Look up
moon
moon bears.
Have we played that one before?
I have, yeah.
How long is
I've played it specifically.
You played it?
Yeah, because I made the reference.
Oh gosh, I think I have a short. It's vertical. I hate that.
17 years ago, this was on YouTube. This is one of like my favorites.
Are you in the producer's chair?
I mean, I'll wait till the show's over for us to pull it up, so we don't kind of like lose the. Or I'll wait till chat shoutouts are over.
Here you go. For the reference, this is what we are referring to. Add to stage. There we go. Whitest kids you know. Moon bears. Gosh, this did come out 17 years ago. This is a really good one. They do a fake press conference where the guy starts talking more and more about everything going on. And then where is it? They even have some pictures like, yep, here's the view from the moon base.
Yeah.
And now we have all the bears that are showing up.
He's the U.S. press secretary, and he's like, guys, I've got bad news. The moon bears are coming, or something along those lines. It's like, yeah, we're in a crisis mode. All these bears on the moon trafficking drugs, blah-de-da-de-da. And the TLDR is one of the audience members, who's another one of the members of the Whitest Kids You Know. He's like, hey, just like a shot, because they're all asking questions like, what do you mean moon bears? Are you fucking with us? Like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, do they have guns? Like, are they our friends? And then at the very end, like, one of the dudes is like, hey, just a shot in the dark here, but we wouldn't happen to be invading Iran today, would we? And then the press secretary is like, you got me. And it's like, the whole thing is just so whenever I see something crazy happening in the news, I just think to myself, it's moon bears. It's moon bears. So go watch the skit. Go watch the video, you guys. Go Google Whitest Kids You Know moon bear skit and enjoy it, because it's a fucking good one.
That's true. Alrighty, let's blast through the rest of these. Cameron coming in again says, best law book I own and recommend is The History of Common Law, Development of Anglo-American Legal Institutions, for about $300. Sir, you're rivaling some of my engineering textbooks, but I'll try to find it. Jocelyn saying, let's use the experience and logic of past events and decide to be great tomorrow. That was a good one. Moonpilled saying, oh, the swords we fall on. I believe this is in reference when you were threatening Mein Kampf upon me.
Hey, it's I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but if we're going to go down a villain arc, then we're going to go down a villain arc.
That's true. It's true. We got Moondog. I think he's signing out here. He says, serenity, courage, wisdom, y'all. Walking into somebody's house for RL campfire time. Good sir. Have fun. Enjoy that. God, that sounds like so much fun right now.
Fucking A, right.
Yeah. We got Jocelyn. Dent, debt, and debt. Yep. Sounds good. That's the history right there. Cameron, I agree. Once we got rid of the gold standard, shit got crazy. That it did. 1913 income tax. Ooh, that's another one. That's another one we don't like. Thank you, Just Live. There you go. He looked it up. We went off the gold standard August 15th, 1971. Thank you very much, good sir. I will try to remember that one. And yes, sir. That is what we got. Alrighty, Will. It's that time of the show. on our scale of 0 to 10,000 hours, where would you put this book when it comes to the journey of mastery? That is a 0 for do
For
not
the
read
folks
this
at
book.
home that are listening and on audio, I held up a 0 shape with my hand. So folks should not listen to this book. Just kidding. Listen to it at 10,001 hours. I don't give a fuck if you don't listen to this book at all, or if you only listen it to sharpen the steel that you're creating. I think that like your time would be better spent doing something else than listening to this. Um, it's not for me. So
That's fair.
I don't think it's for anyone else. That's all I got.
That's
What
very
about
fair.
you, Zenith? What do you think? Where should this book lie in between 0 and 10,000 hours?
I'd have to put this. Do you remember what the highest book I ever said was?
5,000 hours for Buck. I do not remember the book.
Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, I believe.
Ah, yes. Okay.
I would put this after that. This is we'll go up to 6,000
fair.
hours for the purposes of understanding the argument, so you can sharpen yourself against it. This is not as critical as a lot of the other stuff that we've read. Look, is the information important to understand how debt has been used by governments to achieve their goals and like the actual technical inside and outs? Yes, because it's so technical, because it's not necessary. I'm putting it at 6,000 hours. You could read it. I think it can help you. At that point, though, I think once you get above that 5,000 hour mark, I don't think you're getting anything really groundbreaking. You're definitely honing your skills and getting that. You're stacking small wins at that point. If we go off the diminishing returns chart, it's definitely towards that flatter part. And even if you read it down below, you're not going to get that much gain out of it. So yeah, put it up there where you're going to get the same returns as all the other stuff that you've kind of already read. So
Yeah.
yes, sir.
I
Alrighty.
will agree that the if you can take the knowledge out of a book and call it the product, right? If I squeeze this rock and the amount of blood that comes out of the rock when I squeeze it is the produce of the book that I'm reading, then when you squeeze this book, you don't get any product. I don't think you get anything as far as like substantive value. You get some understanding for like what's the opposition to what I think, but I don't think that I don't think that reading this book is a profitable endeavor.
I can
That's my
understand that.
thoughts.
I can agree with it as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, if you
Hey, we did it.
I think the audiobook is like $25.
Yeah.
I have the Audible subscription, so I used a credit, and even then with my discount, it was saying like, oh, you can buy it for $15.
Yep.
I don't really think it's worth it. But if
I
you
don't think
were
so.
going to listen to it or read the book, just read the last chapter, the conclusion. I think the
Yes.
conclusion is really all you need for this one. If you want to read the introduction as well, yeah, go for it. It kind of lays out a little bit of like the lore and context of like what debt's good for, how people think about debt, what do the naysayers say. And look, I understand that the author makes the argument that people are all like doom and gloom about debt. They're like, oh no, the number's so big. How are we ever going to deal with this? And the guy's like, he's making the argument that those people think about it from the doom and gloom standpoint, the way that they think about personal debt. I happen to think that, look, are you correct in the argument that they're thinking about it in the incorrect way as personal debt? Yes. Are you correct in just ignoring that they have a point that it's so massive? No, I think that is a very large point as well. And that one is actually legitimate. So yeah, there you go. Read the introduction, read the conclusion. You're welcome. We saved you about, what was that, 5 hours, 2 times speed?
Yes. That's a good. I like that. Read the intro, read the conclusion. That's all you fucking need with this book, anyways.
Yes, sir. Alrighty. Tell you what, Mr. Will Stevenson, where can the folks find you, and what do you got going on in the near future?
You guys can find me and everything that I do at t.me/hex_meetup. That's everything. I am hanging out, having fun. You guys can catch me November 8th. As a matter of fact, there's going to be an event at Medieval Times in Chicago, Illinois, with myself and Pesky Girl. For those of you guys who know Pesky Girl, super fun, brand new person into Hexico and Pulse Chain. She's super cool, super awesome. You guys can find her in Tam Spaces, and you can also find her on Twitter and in Hex_Meetup. So Pesky and I definitively, possibly more people, will be going to Medieval Times in Chicago on November 8th. You guys can get a ticket there using promo code MT15. I think, or maybe it's 15 MT. I don't know. Go to t.me/hex_meetup. Go to Illinois, and you will see the post in there that describes how to go and hang out at medieval times with other Hexicans and having a good time. I'm going to be driving there from Nebraska, so it's like an 8-hour or 10-hour trip. So
Oh my
it's going to be
gosh.
good. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to be fucking kick-ass. That's what I'm doing in the near future, and that's where you guys can find me. Mr. Zenith, what about you?
I gotta say, good sir, I'm a little bit jealous. Medieval times is a good bit of fun, and for everybody that's never been before, go have fun, and then also throw off the social stigma and just cheer your heart out. You get your night. Everyone else sucks. They're the worst. Your guy's the best. Lean into it. It's
Fuck
fun.
yeah.
Outside of that, folks, we got the Sunday show coming up, our flagship news show. There may or may not have been some financial news that came out this week. Yes, the Federal Reserve dropped interest rates by another quarter point. This is the second consecutive one, second one for the year. And, well, now we're all trying to see what's going to happen for the next one. We'll talk about what happened with the markets on that one. And additionally, we are getting reports that layoffs are starting to occur again. So we're going to talk about the implications for that, the overall market, and what's going on with crypto, because obviously that's why we're here. Duh. Outside of that, that's the Sunday show. We're coming up on Whiskey Wednesday. Will, we got a Whiskey Wednesday, right?
Sure, why not? I have no fucking clue. Me and Josh hung out on Whiskey Wednesday. My good friend, Mr. Slide 180. We shot the shit for a little bit, and I was totally driving while hosting the show, and it was interesting. So if there's no particular special guests that anyone else in the DGen Roundtable finds, like, I'm super busy in my life, so I don't have time to like reach out to people and see what's going on. If you guys want to chit chat with us, Whiskey Wednesday is the time to hang out, talk shit, tell us that you hate us, talk about whatever the fuck's going on in your life. We love meeting new people. So this Wednesday, if there's nothing else happening, then it's a Whiskey fucking Wednesday, and we'll hang out and we'll shoot the shit, and folks can come chillax.
True.
That's what we got going on.
And then next Friday, we got another
Starship
book that we're
Troopers.
covering. That's right. We're covering the book Starship Troopers, not the movie. Still like the movie a lot. Also like Helldivers 2 a lot. Good game. But we're actually covering the book. We're getting into the deep stuff on that one. So Will has an excellent recommendation. He is too generous to me after I just did this to him. So thank you, sir, for pre-picking that before you read this one. But yes, I know that might come up and is due in time. But yes, folks, all of our shows, 8 p.m. Eastern time here. Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. That is when we stream. If you want to hang out with us more, go ahead and join the Telegram by scanning that QR code right there. You can hop in there, see our excellent community that we love so much. We post good memes, some good research as well, and then also just kind of shoot the shit. So if you want to hop in there, get more of us, that's the place to do so. Outside of that, continue to catch us on YouTube, because that's where we're going to be, baby. Will, what you got?
Where can the folks find you, Zenith?
Oh, you can find me on X and Instagram at zenithdi. I do post some... Or I do a lot of reposting is what I do. I aggregate as much news as I possibly can and share it with you guys. So if you're interested in what I'm interested in, that's where you can kind of catch that feed. That is what I do. Also, I don't use it a ton, probably like once a week or so. So it is what it is. If you want the latest and greatest, Telegram or right here, hop in the chat live. Catch us on Replay Gang. Shout out to all you guys, by the way. I love seeing the comments from a lot of our good friends who are like, hey, it didn't make the stream, but I caught Replay Gang. I'm like, yep, that gets a thumbs up. Nice. Alrighty, that is all we got going on here. So it is time for the end of show copywriting as I find my script, which is from
I'll click us out so that way you can just roll through it.
Sounds good. All right. I want to thank all you guys out there for spending your valuable time here with us at the DGen Roundtable. As our very own Agent J often says, we know that time is your most valuable asset, and we appreciate you investing it right here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Zenith, but more importantly, you have been watching the DGen Roundtable. Mr. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready, because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to DGen responsibly.